Hello and welcome to my video demonstrating the Planets Command Center 2 application for VGA Planets. A few weeks ago I showed you how to play VGA Planets in current times, 2022, using a BBS and the original VGA Planets shareware client. But today I'm going to show you my preferred way of playing VGA Planets, and that is using Planets Command Center 2. This is a great program. I can't speak highly enough of it, and I'm by no means a VGA Planets expert. I played a couple games back in the 90s when I was a kid, and then last year I decided to play around with VGA Planets again, and that's kind of how I got into playing it on a BBS and playing it through the DOS client. But in doing so, I read around and found this program called Planets Command Center 2. And since finding this program, I have never went back into the DOS client since. Maybe for nostalgia, the DOS client is a fun little program to play around in, but generally speaking, if you want to play VGA Planets on a regular basis, I highly recommend the Planet Command Center 2 program. And that's what this video is going to be about. So let's get started. This software combines a lot of functions that old tools that you would have to run separately back in the day did as one kind of central unit. So it kind of combines everything that was great about all the old tools that you may or may not have ran back in the day, and combines it into this application in one place. And that's what I'm going to show you today. Maybe what we'll do is we will run a set of turns, so maybe 5 or 10 turns of a game, of a brand new game, and I'll show you how I use Planets Command Center. And I'm still learning it myself. There are a lot of uh, aspects to this software, and I encourage you to take the time to read through the help file and discover everything there is available to do in this software because it is very powerful. I'm only going to kind of just briefly touch on some of the things that it can do. And like I said, I'm still learning as well. So going to the main page here, I'm using Windows, so we'll download the Windows version, but there is a version available for Linux as well. There's also the source code, so if you want to try to compile it in some other OS like Mac OS, you're more than welcome to try. The author is also very responsive and is still developing this tool to this day, so that's great news. So I've seen this before on other installs that I've done. It doesn't pass through the default security clearances, but rest assured this is trustworthy software, and I've never had any problem with it. So once it downloads here, go ahead and run the installer. And you may once again get a message saying that Windows protected your PC, but I just click run anyway. So it goes through the default installation requirements. It will ask you where your sorry, I skipped over here. It'll ask you where your WinPlan is installed. If you've never used WinPlan, just leave this blank. As you're playing your VGA Planets turns, you can switch between clients if you want. You don't need to stick to one client. You could use the DOS client for one day for one turn. The next day you could switch to Planets Command Center 2. The next day you could use the WinPlan. But this tutorial and demo will not get into that. We are not using WinPlan here, so I'm just leaving it blank. It'll then ask you where you store your downloaded games to. I typically just use /VGA Planets, but feel free to put wherever you want here. And you can also leave that blank as well, but when you click open within the PC Command Center. After installation, it will just default to the C program files x86 folder. So you might want to, again, specify a specific folder here. And then just click install. Okay, so once you have it installed, there's a couple other things I recommend you grabbing under the plugin section. The first one is ship images. And the one I use is this one here, this Delta Force T-list / standard ship list prepared by Delta Force, which was a former VGA Planet website apparently. So if you were using, I mean, you might want to get other ship images as well if you're going to be playing in games with phost, but since we're just using the regular Tim host for this demo, I'm going to download these ship images. And then the other plugin I recommend getting is the ship namer. If you're very creative and you're good at naming your ships, by all means, just name them yourself. But I find this very handy, especially when you're working with fleets of 60 or 70 ships and they're getting destroyed in battles and you're getting new ships all the time. It's just easier to have a ship naming script and it will avoid repetitions as it says here. So once you download these, you can just click Open File, and it'll ask if you want to install the plugin into PCC2. You just say yes. I'll do the same with the ship images file, and that's all there is to it. After running that, you should then have a PCC2 icon in your start menu, and I recommend creating a shortcut on your desktop. So to do that, you would just go Open File Location, right-click on it, Send to, Desktop, Create Shortcut. So once you send the shortcut to your desktop, it's going to look like this, just PCC2. And when you open it, it will open into a fairly tiny window, as you can see here. I recommend changing the size of this window, either working full screen or just enlarging the window. And unfortunately, you can't just drag and drop a corner of the window like you can with most applications these days. You're going to have to change the shortcut to fix that. So let me just quickly show you the various command line options available to you. There we go here. So these are the various options available when you're launching it from command line or from a shortcut. So like I said, if you want to run full screen, you would just modify your shortcut to have the full screen option in it. This folder here is what I typed into the install section to show it where to find my VGA Planets games that I'm playing, and then you just add the dash full screen afterwards. So that's how to do full screen. What I like to do though is I like to have it in a window. So I use the dash size equals option. And what I find works best for my particular resolution, which is 1080p resolution, is a window of 1280 by 1064, I believe. Nope, sorry, I use a window of 1024 by 768. And with that size window, I find it it's a nice size to work with. Gives you lots of screen real estate for your star map, and it works quite well. So to demonstrate this software, what I'm going to do is set up a demo game quickly. And you won't have to do this when you're playing. You would actually either log into a BBS for your turns, or what I really highly recommend everyone check out is Planet Central. Now, Planet Central is also by the developer of the software Planets Command Center too. Stefan runs this website, and he has it set up to host your games or host the games for you. So as you can see, there's 5 games waiting for players to join this very minute, including a classic option game. Now, Planet Central runs phost, which is different than the original Tim host. However, this version of the game running under phost attempts to emulate as closely as possible the original um, game. So rest assured, if you play on this website using phost, it will still feel like the original game you played many years ago, if that's what you're looking for, as long as you stick to the Titan series of games. And this site is pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about how to play your games. If you have any questions on that, just feel free to post in this video, questions, comments in this video, or just go to the Planet Central website, create an account, and post a question in their forums. It's a great site. I really encourage everyone to play a game or two on this site. It's really fun. So anyway, back to our demo. However, what we're going to do is just set up our own a game locally so that we can run through a bunch of turns quickly. All right, so let's get started with our demo game by creating a brand new universe. And we will include all the races for this demo. And we'll do non-homeworld planet, random rich, classic homeworlds in a circle. We'll do medium range, center of the universe, extra rich, very high, very high. Sure, they can have their desert lake. Climate, and yes, we want them to have star bases with a starting level of Tech 7, and yes to free ships. All right, there we go. Now let's just quickly configure it with the default settings. And I'll just select default here, and let me just quickly page through the settings for your reference. There you have it. Okay, we'll save those. And now we'll need to run host for the first time to generate the first set of RST files. Okay, now that our universe has been created and we've configured our game, ran the first turn, we're ready to play our first turn. But before we do that, let's just quickly talk about what software is going to be used in this demo. Obviously, we're using the Tim host hosting application version 3.22.47. That's the latest, as far as I know, release of the VGA Planets host by Tim. We're going to use Space Lord for the computer player. It's my preferred computer player if you have to play a game with computer players. And we're going to use the tool NoVCR to help prevent Space Lord from crashing. Although this is developed specifically for phost, I do find that it helps crashing even with TimHost, the original host program. We're going to also use act just to track the turn files, to just out of curiosity to see if any turns are stale or failing for whatever reason. And then finally, we're going to use the VP Mate tool from Stupid, simply the Ultimate Planets Interface Door program. It's a BBS door program, and it generates a nice score listing in ANZ file that I like to see at the end of running the turn. Okay, so now that we've talked about what software we're using, let's just quickly talk about planets for those who may have never played before. Although this tutorial is not going to, or this demo I should say, is not going to go into a tutorial about how to play VGA Planets or even how to use the Planets Command Center software, this demo can be used to introduce you to the game and get you started at the very minimum. So just to quickly talk about what VGA Planets is, and this is from this website if you want to read about it in more detail, the phost.de website. But basically, VGA Planets is a space combat strategy game. And you start off with a small empire in a star cluster and play with up to 10 other people. Your objective is to enlarge your empire, conquer the other empires, and ultimately rule the galaxy. So this is what's referred to as a 4X game. Expand, exploit, exterminate, explore. Apparently, it's the same kind of concept as Civilizations, if you've ever played that video game. So you'll play one of the 11 different races with unique abilities and a unique set of ships. And you will be able to read up about the different race advantages in the VGA Planets documentation. It's a turn-based game, meaning that all players do their turn without a hurry on their own computer. Um, Unlike real-time game, it doesn't matter how fast you play. Usually there are several days or even weeks between turns. In this case, we usually play one day is one turn, um, but other places like Planet Central, for example, they have a 3 turn per week schedule, unless everyone uh, submits their turns, and then it will run ahead of time. It's easy to learn, hard to master. That's a great quote. I still, even after playing many games, what I consider many games, which is still a novice in the VGA Planets world, I'm still learning new things every turn I play. So the universe is a flat plane. Distances are measured in light years. Until you see the positions of all planets in the universe, foreign ships can be located only when they're close enough. So you'll see on the star map that you'll only see kind of what's in your general vicinity. Speeds are specified as warp factors. The distance covered each turn is the square of the warp factor. So if you're traveling at warp 8, that means you can travel 64 light years per turn. You usually have access to warp factors 0 through 9. Some races have ships that allow you to go double that speed, but those are very few and far between. There are 4 minerals in this game, and you're using these minerals to build ships, planetary structures, and the currency unit in planets is the mega credit, and additional resource supplies are needed for various tasks. Supplies are also measured in kilotons on planets. You can sell supplies to the population at a price of 1 mega credit per kiloton, but you cannot buy supplies. So populations are usually counted in clans. One clan is equal to 100 people and their belongings, and every object in the game has a unique identifier number. So that's the general rundown of the game. Now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and play our first turn. So I'm loading up the planet's command center. I've downloaded the RST file. Well, I've simulated downloading the RST file for player 3, which is the Birdman. And I'm opening my very first turn. So here we go. Now, everyone has their own preferred way of playing the game, and I'm not about to tell you exactly how to do it. Um, but I'll just show you what I typically do in terms of running through my uh, daily turn. So the first thing I'll do is, after opening the turn, is usually checking out the scores. And it's not going to be too much information for the first turn, obviously, because nothing's happened yet. But as you can see, the Feds always will start off with a slightly higher score in a default original format game because they're the only race that starts with 2 capital ships. And a capital ship is simply a ship that has weapons on it. FR stands for freighters. So after looking at the scores, I will then check my messages. So down here, you can click on M or click on the messages button or just hit M on your keyboard. And you can search through your messages for the day. The very first set of messages will be the settings that you're playing with. And then from then on, you get Ion Storm messages and then the build queue. Obviously, if this was later on in the game, you would have additional messages based on what you're discovering. You can use the tab key within this message window, and that will allow you to filter based on subjects. So we'll check that out in a couple turns later just to see what that looks like. Okay, so now that we've read our messages, I like to just go through everything in order. First look at my starships, then my planets, then deal with my star bases, um, with the exception of star chart. After reading my messages and looking at the scoreboard, I will then generally click on my star chart to see what is out and about in the universe for this turn rather. So as you can see, the star chart within Planet's Command Center is quite different than the DOS client. You can zoom in and zoom out. You can see everything at a quick glance. Right clicking will jump to any close by ship, or the closest ship to you, your cursor rather, and left clicking will take you to the closest planet you own to your cursor. So very first turn, we've only got one planet and two ships. This planet has a star base present, as we can see in the little blue box that pops up on the right there. And we don't see any enemy activity once again because this is turn one. Here we can see an ion storm that is starting up, and it is moving in the direction the arrow is pointing. Okay, so now that we've looked at the star chart, let's go through and deal with our ships. So first we have ship 3. I'm going to hit Shift N to change the name of it using my ship naming script. I'll just stop on one that looks like it appeals to me. There we go. Gillidan. And next thing, I'm going to change my friendly code on this ship. So F for friendly code, and I'll just assign it a number for now. And anything else I want to do with this ship? Mission's already set to explore, so that's good. So now what I'll do is I'll issue this ship a command. And what I want to do with this freighter is colonize some nearby planet clusters. So maybe I'll send this particular ship in this direction and colonize these couple planets here. So hitting C for cargo, you select which item you want to transfer cargo from and to, and we can either select a planet, or if there's other ships circulate in the same orbit as you can select the ship. So we're going to transfer cargo from our planet. Our starbase is already automatically loaded up neutronium onto the ship. I'm going to change that setting when we get to the starbase section, but for now I don't need to load neutronium, and I'll just put 50 colonists. And to adjust, it's just left and right arrow keys on your keyboard, or you can use these left and right arrow buttons. By default, you're going to transfer in units of 10. To go fewer than that, which is units of 1, you hold your left shift button down, and then while you're holding that button down, hit either the right or left arrow keys to increase or decrease in units of 1. To increase or decrease in units of 100, you hold the control button. So those are the ways of transferring cargo to and from your ships. So like I said, I'm going to put 50 colonists on this and 20 supplies, and I will give it 600 mega credits. Well, maybe I'll give it. It's always hard to figure out what you're going to put on a ship. You don't want to spread yourself too thin, but you don't want to leave. You don't want too few items on your ship so that you're struggling to build structures. So let's go with 800 mega credits for this ship. And now I need to tell the ship where to go. So I'm going to go to this planet. When you use your mouse button to click around on this screen, you are just scanning it. You're not actually setting your ship to move anywhere. As you can see, our distance and waypoint has not changed as I'm clicking around here. To actually set your ship to, or order your ship to move somewhere, you click on the destination and then press Control W for waypoint. And as I did that, you can see my waypoint changed to the planet that I was scanning, Scope Door, and it will automatically adjust your warp factor to the most efficient warp based on what tech engine you have, then the distance to the planet. So it doesn't want to go above warp 6 by default, once again, because we've only got a warp 6 a Heavy Nova Drive 6 engine. Now you can manually bypass that if I do want to get there in one turn, because I want to, for example, planet hop so that I'm staying off the radar of my enemies. I would just hit W to manually change my warp factor. And I would need to change it to, since it's 61 light years away, to at least an 8, so that I'm going 64 light years, up to 64 light years, the square of 8, to get there in one turn. It'll also tell you what your increased fuel usage will be by going that fast. The most efficient at warp 6, you're only using 18 kilotons of fuel, but if I move it to 8, as you can see, I'm using a lot more fuel. The distance isn't great, so to me, that's okay. Especially in early game, I want to colonize these planets as quickly as possible. So I'm willing to spend a bit of extra fuel to get there in one turn. And that's pretty much all I need to do for this ship. So now, time to go to my next ship. I can either hit F1 to cycle through them, or I can use my page up and page down keys on the keyboard to do the same thing. So here's my next ship. It's a scout. I'm going to change its name by hitting Shift N, or I could just hit N and manually type in a name if you prefer. Once again, I have neutronium on this ship, so that's fine. I'm going to send it in this direction to do these two planets. It is just a small little scout, so I don't have nearly as much cargo space on here, but I can bring, so for 2 planets, I'm going to bring, I guess, let's do 7 on each, so 14 colonists, and then 6 supplies. Again, these scouts are just very tiny. If these are useful planets, I will definitely send a larger freighter with more supplies the next turn. And because I'm only going to go to those 2 planets and I don't anticipate going further than there, I'm going to only bring the amount of fuel that I need. So let's only bring 30. That'll give me lots, even if I decide to go a bit further after that, because this scout can travel a long way on a short amount of fuel. So there we go. Select the planet, Control W to change my waypoint. It's going to take me 2 turns at this warp factor. So if I want to make it to this planet at a warp factor of 8, I still can't because that's only 64 light years. I would have to go a warp factor of 9. So let's see, with a warp factor of 9, it would cost me 64 kilotons of fuel. So once again, especially for the purpose of this demo, let's give it the fuel that it needs to get there. And in fact, I'm going to give it as much fuel as it can carry because I will be traveling to this planet after that. So change my mission to explore, which it's already set to. Change my friendly code to something unique. And we are done for this ship as well. So I've done my 2 ships, page down, just cycling through them. Got 1 ship going to that planet, another going to this planet. Hit escape to take me back to my main menu. And now I can look through my planets. I've only got 1 at this point. It's my home world. So let's check out the tax rate on that by hitting T. My colonist tax rate is by default set to 6. I'm going to leave it at that for now. You can use the auto tax option within PCC, and I do recommend that. It works quite well. It will tax them to the appropriate amount so that it keeps their happiness at a decent level, and it also will only tax them, include, like if you're talking about natives, it'll only tax them the maximum amount that your colonists can collect from. So you don't have to worry about taxing natives too much for money that you can't collect. So again, check out the auto tax feature within your tool. So there's not really too much I need to do at this point except build a new ship. And that's not done for my planet screen, that's done for my starbase screen. But let me just check out my defense levels on this planet by hitting D. So I start off with 100 defense posts, and my starbase defense is set at 10. So first couple turns, I'm not worried about people attacking my starbase, especially on the distance between homeworlds that we set. So I'm just going to leave this as is for now. Now let's switch to the starbase. So finally going to my starbase. In the original DOS client, you would have to individually increase your technology levels manually. Whereas this client tool is nice that when you build a new ship, and for the first turn, I'm going to build a large deep space freighter with, I want maximum engine, so I'm going to increase my engine tech level to 10 right away for engines, and freighters can't have any beams or torpedoes, large deep space freighters. So this is what I want to build. Again, going back to the DOS client, you would have to increase your tech level and then buy the hulls. This does everything for you. You just select what you want, and if you don't have that particular hull in stock, it will buy it for you if you have the available resources. So if we go to detailed build here, we'll see what actually happens. In order for me to build a large deep space freighter, I have to upgrade my hull to tech level 5, and that's what it's going to cost to do it. Then purchase the hull itself, which is for this and this amount of minerals. Then we need to upgrade the engines, the tech level of the engines. We started off with a tech level 7. We need a tech level 10, so that's the 3 level increase for 2400 mega credits. And then finally the 2 transwarp drives for 600. So that's where the cost breakdown comes into play. Very nice that PCC2 will just display this all for you and buy everything automatically for you. This red warning just tells me that right now my tech level is only at 7. We need to increase to tech 10. So I click OK to build that, and that's all there is to it. As you can see, all of a sudden my engine tech level is now at 10, my hull tech level is at 6, and I'm building the large deep space freighter. So that's all there is to this turn. Let's submit our turn uh, and play turn number 2. So in this client, to create a turn, you don't need to click make turn or anything like that unless you originally unpacked your turn. But by default, you don't need to unpack your RST file and you don't need to make turn. It will automatically create your turn file for you. So once it creates the turn file, you would upload that to the BBS or to the Planet Central website, and then wait for the host to run its cycle and give you access to your next RST file. So let's simulate that process here. Just quickly running through how we simulate it. This is going to be a batch file that, first of all, clears out any old turn files. We don't have any for the first turn. Then it will copy all the RST files to the Spacelord folder. We will then run the NoVCR tool against the RST files, except for player 3 because I'm playing that manually, the Birdman. Then Spacelord will run against all players except Birdman. Then we copy the turn files back to the host folder, and we run the maintenance tool for the score ANSI. We run the host program itself, and then finally we run the act tool on it. So that's the breakdown of that. So let's go ahead and run the demo batch file now to create our turn, or create the next turn file rather. And there we go. So Spacelord is doing its thing for the 10 computer controlled players. Now host is running, and boom, turn 2 is ready to go. Looks like pretty much everyone built a freighter this turn. So the scores really haven't changed that much. Let's go back to our game and open up the Birdman. Okay, so here we go. I'm just gonna minimize this so it's not in the background. So first things first, let's check out our scores. One thing I really like about the Planets Command Center 2 is the ability to compare the scores to different turns. So comparing it to the previous turn, like I said, by just looking at the scores, everyone jumped up by 1 point. Everyone built 1 freighter last turn. Pretty easy to see. And this, of course, will also show you other graphs, which aren't going to look too meaningful until we get some more data in here. So we'll come back to those in a couple turns. So we've checked out the scores. Now let's look at the messages. So first 10 messages will again just be the host settings. You can filter these out if you want, but suit yourself for that. And here we go, alerting us to a ship we built, and it's telling us that our one ship arrived at a desert world and another one arrived at a cool world. So we can check those out shortly once we look through our ships, our planets rather. And then finally the ship, or the priority build queue. Okay, so F1 for ships. Let's just go through them in order. Here we go. Gillidan has arrived at Scope Door. So hitting C for cargo. Actually, first of all, hitting F5. Is it listed on the screen here? I don't see it even. I don't see F5 even listed, but pressing F5 will bring up information about the planet your ship is um, orbiting around. So this planet here has no native populations, unfortunately, but look at that. Lots of neutronium and large masses. That is golden to see. Um, it really sucks running out of fuel, and having a planet with this much fuel with such good density close to my homeworld is great. So let's go ahead and drop off some colonists here. Let's drop off 10, well, yeah, we'll do 10 colonists and we'll do 4 supplies. And hit enter to set that. And then what we'll do is we'll move off to the next planet, or set it to move off to the next planet. So Control W to set it to move to Heavy World. It says it's going to take us 2 turns and 14 kilotons. Well, once again, I want to do that in 1 turn. So let's increase the warp to, it's going to have to be slightly more than 8, unfortunately, unless we can check it out. Warp 8. No, won't get us there. Sometimes if you're close enough to the planet, which would have got us 64 light years, it would just kind of suck you into the gravitational pull of the planet. But it's definitely more than, or less than, we're too far for that to happen. So warp factor 9, we'll get there in a turn. It'll use 130 kilotons of fuel, unfortunately, which is a lot. We only have 139. But checking out this planet again by hitting F5, there's 210 kilotons of neutronium on the surface of this planet. So let's set our mission to beam up fuel. And as we leave this planet, we will beam up however much fuel we can. And in this case, it'll be a 61 because we only have 61 spaces left. Okay, so page down to go to our next ship. Now we're on the second ship that we own, and it has arrived at Fornax. Let's once again drop off some colonists and supplies. So we've only got 2 planets we want to explore over here. So let's drop off half the colonists, so 7 colonists, and half the supplies. We can't drop off money until you own the planet. So unfortunately, we don't have any money. We didn't bring any money with us anyhow. That was something I overlooked, I guess, for this ship. I would normally bring a bit of money with me. But again, we would have either had to wait a turn to unload it or come back to this planet. So let's go ahead and move off to this planet and see what's going on at Lost Planet. Switching to our other ship just quickly, we do have mega credits. Actually, that's the new ship. Sorry, this is the other ship. We do have mega credits on this, but like I said, we can't actually unload them until we own the planet. When you hit C, it just doesn't give you the option to deal with mega credits. So we are going to come back to this planet and drop off mega credits on the way back, as opposed to waiting around for a turn. Now, didn't mention this when we first were looking at this ship, but as you can see, we can already see our closest neighbors to the east, which are the privateers. So hitting F4 takes me to the star chart screen, and we can right click to have a quick little look at a synopsis of this ship. So this is a scout ship, and what about this one? This is a small deep space freighter. Now, judging by the location of these ships, you can probably surmise that his homeworld is right here, which is pretty close to us. If it's not here, I don't know really where it could be after 1 turn. It's possible it could be here, and he's sending 1 ship on this direction, but computer players generally play pretty basic, and I'm sure he's just sending this ship to this planet, he's sending this ship to that planet, so his homeworld must be right there. So I'm going to have to be quite careful about my plans. I'm not going to be able to colonize these like I originally thought. I might want to consider building a capital ship this turn to start dealing with the privateers. But as you may know, if you've ever played VGA Planets before, the privateers are a sneaky, sneaky race, and it's easy to get robbed by them. So be very careful when battling the privateers. On our other side, don't see any. Oh, there is. There is one other ship. So the Evil Empire is on our northwest side here. And one thing that I do tend to do every turn, especially later on, that I didn't mention for the first turn, is check out your Imperial stats, which gives you a great summary of all your planets, minerals, colony stats, things like that. But it also, if you click on the star chart button, it'll tell you everything you see on your star chart. So you don't have to like look hard for those little red dots. So it actually tells us here that there are 2 privateer ships on our radar, and we could just click on this link to go right to them. And of course, it also showed us the Evil Empire ship that we saw up here. Okay, but for now, I think I'm going to be safe to get to that other planet before he does anything, and I'll quickly colonize it. Um, but knowing that I'm only going to be colonizing these two planets and then probably going back to my home world to get more supplies to head down here, I'm going to drop off more stuff here. So instead of splitting it among 3 or 4 different planets, I'm going to just divide it in half. And again, I'll maybe visit this planet on the way back from visiting here to drop off some mega credits for building stuff. Okay, and let's quickly go to the last ship that we have available to us right now, which is the Deep Space Freighter. We just got finished building. Um, it once again is full of neutronium because last turn I forgot to change my mission on my starbase. I like my starbase to be maximum defense by default, and I will allocate fuel manually myself. So going back to our freighter here, what I did there is if you hit F4 to take you to the star chart, if you have multiple items at your location, hitting tab will cycle between them. So we can either jump to our planet or to our ship from here. And you have to use the appropriate F1 keys to change to that. So if I want to change to the ship, I would have to hit F1 because F1 is the ship button. And if I wanted to change the planet, I'd have to hit F2. Hitting enter actually will just is the same as hitting up or hitting down, it looks like. So once again, going back to this ship, let's load it up with a bunch of stuff, and actually we'll send this one off to the south to colonize those 3 planets and beyond. So don't need quite that much fuel, I don't think. We'll give lots of colonists and lots of supplies and lots of money too. We're gonna hope that those planets are really good planets and it's gonna be worthwhile spending or sparing the money and resources from our homeworld. So let's head on down here, Control W. Now this might be a good chance for me to quickly show you the auto task button. You can set up things to do automatically without your intervention. Um, Something I use all the time is if there's a planet with lots of fuel on it and I want to ferry the fuel back and forth to my homeworld, I'll set up an auto task where it just has the ship go back and forth, unloading and loading fuel. In this case, I just want this ship to go to this planet. It's going to take 3 turns, and I don't want to forget about it, so I just want it to alert me when it gets there. So let's set up an auto task for that. You click on the auto button. First of all, movement, move to, I want to move to Sanstricius, however you pronounce that. Click OK. It verifies it's going to take 3 moves, and then once I'm there, I want it to notify me. Unload, head out. There we go. So in 3 turns, we're going to get that notification message saying it's there. So once you've done that, just click your auto button again and just verifying, do we have enough fuel? We have barely enough fuel to get there. What if there's hardly any fuel there for us to get to the next planet? So let's give ourselves a bit more fuel, even 400 units should be okay, hopefully. Change our mission to explore, change our friendly code to something unique, and this guy's done too. Okay, so we went through all our ships. Now let's switch to our planets. So hitting F2, we can either cycle through our planets by hitting the page up and page down key. Now, once again, we still only have access to our one planet, our home world, because we haven't actually colonized these yet. We've sent colonists down to them, but we can't view them in proper until they've been colonized. So once again, we're only on our homeworld planet. I don't really want to change my taxes, so there's nothing I need to do here. Let's go to our starbase. Let's battle these guys. So let's build a battleship. So one of my default go-tos is the Resolute for the Birdmen. I'm going to give it a good engine. We only need a positron beam. That's a good bang for your buck, I find. And we're going to do Mark IV torpedoes. So looking at the detailed build for this, we need to once again upgrade our hull to get the Resolute. So the hull upgrade is 600. And we have to do a beam upgrade and a torpedo upgrade. So this is going to be a very expensive first ship. But after that, building this type of ship will be much cheaper because we don't have to worry about the tech increases. But for now, we're just going to build that. Go ahead. And he's not close enough to me quite yet to worry about spending too much money on defense, but I'm going to increase it a little bit at this point. So hitting on my D for defense, I'm going to bring my planetary defense posts up to 150 just by hitting the plus button here. And I'm going to bring my star-based defense, let's bring that up to 50 as well. And as you increase your starbase and defense posts, you'll notice down here, it tells you how many defenses you have, like what the defenses turns into in terms of weapons and fighters. So for me to get another level of fighter bays and fighters, I have to increase my star-based defense by 7 more units. So as I actually, sorry, it's not my star base, it's my defense post unit. So as I increase these, you'll see that decreases to 6. So keep that in mind. So at this point, I think it's worthwhile spending 5 more defense or building 5 more defense posts to increase my next level. So let's get closer to that. So we've got 32 fighters and 12 fighter bays. As soon as I spend one more or purchase one more defense post, it changes to 33 and 13. And it tells me what the next level is increased at. So that's a good way of spending your money wisely, so to speak. There's no point spending your money to bring it up to less than 2 or 3 to go. You might as well just purchase those extra ones. And then star-based defense, I said that was going to bring that up to 50, so let's go ahead and do that. And it summarizes the cost of these purchases. So it hasn't actually committed these changes yet. I could hit cancel if I didn't want this, or I could just click OK, which I want to do. Okay, so we are done turn number 2. Let me change my friendly code for this while I'm at it. I like to have my planet set to ATT so that no freighters can just come up and drop off colonists and do ground attacks on me. So here we go. We're good to go. We're building something. Let's exit out, save and exit. It once again shows us that we've got a turn file ready to submit. So let's simulate the next turn. So once again, Space Lord's doing its thing. Now the host is running, packing up the RST files, and turn number 3 is ready for action. And we can see that we are now in second place because we built a capital ship and we got 2 planets. Actually, we're tied for first place. So there you have it. So if we go into our planets folder here and open our Birdman RST, looking at the scores, if we want to do a difference to previous turn, this is once again a great way to summarize activity from the last turn. If we want to compare it to turn number 1, or any turn for that matter, we can do that as well. What you do is you just change to turn 1, click on this D, and then say differences to this turn, and then you change back to our current turn. So our current turn is turn 3. So since turn 1, these are the differences. I like to do a weekend summary later on down the game. Once you're like 30, 40 turns in, you check to see what the difference is from the last week, and that'll give you a really good indication of who's active, who's playing their turns, who's doing what. So keep a close eye on the information presented here. And if we want to just quickly look at some of these graphs here, starting to be a bit more meaningful, but still not too much information. Okay, so let's blast through these turns. It's taking a while here, but I'm just trying to talk about what I'm doing as we go through. So quickly here, once again, we've looked at scores. Now we're going to check our messages. Colonists on scope door, Fornax. That guy beamed up fuel that we wanted him to. More information about the ion storms. We've got our ship that was built and exploring a new world. No enemy colonists there, so we beat the privateers to that planet, thankfully. Okay, so F1, cycle through the planet starships. First starship here, he's arrived on Heavy World, and our mission is still set to beam up fuel because that's what it was last time. Let's leave it on that in case we want to beam up fuel from this planet. Hitting F5 tells us there's 287 units on the surface. No colonists here. Not great in terms of resources, but we do have, again, quite a bit of neutronium, which is good. So let's drop off the remaining colonists and supplies on here. And we are going to leave it as beam up fuel. Let's just quickly check this planet. Scope door. It's desert. Unfortunately, I forgot about that, so the colonists are going to start dying if we have too many of them here. But we should probably, because we want to mine the neutronium, we're going to set up a bunch of factories and mines here, and we're going to need money to do that efficiently. So let's send our ship back to that guy before we head back to the homeworld to drop off some mega credits. Next ship, here's our scout. He's in deep space. I guess I didn't, I wasn't paying attention and I didn't change my warp factor appropriately, so it's going to actually take me 2 turns to get here after all. So that's unfortunate, but just a little example of how you need to pay close attention to your orders you're giving your ships each turn. Next ship, this guy, he's still on his way to the planet south of us. It's going to take him 2 more turns. The green box around this auto box shows us that he's on an auto mission. Clicking on that reminds us what it is. And finally, here's our new ship we built. Let's give it a name. Let's give it a kill mission because it's our battleship. Change the friendly code. And let's send him off to attack some privateer ships. So this guy is going very slow. He hasn't even made it to this planet yet, so we can probably get there in 1 turn and arrive at the same time as him and show him what's up. So let's do that. Let's load him up with tons of fuel because we're going to be traveling all over the place, killing people, hopefully. Give him some supplies to repair with if we do get damaged. Let's save 40 space for some colonists that we can drop off in places if we want. And that looks good. So let's head to the time planet where we think this guy's going. We're almost sure that's where he's going. We can't actually get there in 1 turn. It's beyond 81 light years, so he probably will get there first. So it is what it is, but we're still going to go there and attack it. Now, if we want to be sneaky, we can actually cloak, since we are a cloaking race, and this is a cloaking battleship, so why not? Let's not give that privateer any knowledge that we're coming after him. And that's it for our ships. Now we go to our planets. And this is where you can hit your B for building your factories and your mines. I encourage you to set goals for every planet. Read the documentation on this. It's a little too in-depth for me to go into at this point, but basically you can set up your goals for building stuff, and then you don't have to do it manually every round. You can just hit a button, do it globally for all your planets. And to do that, I'm not going to set my goals. I'm just going to show you how you would go about doing that. From the main screen here, you use your global. Do I want to exclude numerical friendly codes? No. Do I want to exclude special friendly codes? No. And now I just want to auto build. And it tells me it's going to build on 2 planets. Same with taxes. I like optimizing the taxes for natives only. And you can do that from a global action perspective as well. So now that we've kind of done what we need to on our planets, let's go to the starbase. We want to probably build another ship. At this point, I'd probably build another large deep space freighter to start sending lots of colonists to the planets that I'm finding that are worthy of it. So let's go ahead and do that. Large deep space freighter with a transwarp drive. But look at this. Already I'm out of duranium. So we don't have enough duranium to build this ship. By hitting F5, we could check the stats for our home world here, and we can see that we're only mining 94 kilotons of duranium every round because it's scattered density. In fact, everything except Molly is scattered, so we're always going to be fighting for minerals. So we're going to have to start thinking about either grabbing minerals from a close by planet or building a Merlin to generate the minerals we need from supplies. either way, we're not going to be able to build a Merlin until we have lots more minerals. So we're going to have to rethink what we want to build this round. So let's go back to our starbase build. With a shortage of geranium, I don't really want to build another freighter that's going to take up a lot of useful minerals. I'm going to have to save it for next round, or I'm just going to have to build a scout. And I think probably scout's the better option at this point. I can explore more planets while I'm waiting for minerals to build my larger freighters. So let's go ahead and build a scout, and I think our turn's done. Not really else much we can do here. So let's go ahead, save and exit, simulate our next turn. DOS box running at warp speed because I've got it set to 101,000 cycles. Okay, look at that. Now we're in first place. Birdman. 4 planets, 1 starbase, 3 capital ships. So let's go into our planets command center. And check out our scores in here. We want to do a difference to previous turn. No one's negative, so no one's been attacked yet. Everyone's still just expanding and exploring. But as we know, by looking at our star chart here, we are about ready to hit Time Planet, and we know that there's a privateer ship at this very turn sitting on that planet. But I'm just realizing a very novice mistake I made. Look at that, I forgot to load torpedoes onto this ship. So once again, haste makes waste, and this is going to be kind of a very poor attack. But luckily, I think I can still take out that freighter with just beam weapons and no torpedoes. But very amateur mistake there. So let's quickly whip through our starships here. This guy's still in deep space. He's going to be there in 1 turn. We beamed up fuel, so we've got lots of fuel there. This guy here, he's at Lost Planet, so let's transfer our remaining supplies and colonists to that planet, and then head back to our home world for more. We could have also decided to just keep exploring down here, and that might have been an option if I had a better drive, but since this is, or engine rather, but since this is one of our free ships, we've got a pretty crappy engine. So one of the things I'll actually sometimes do is just give up with these slow ships. It would take me too long to move around this, especially the universe I was dealt, or the section of the universe I was dealt. So I'm tempted to just do the colonize mission, which is referred to as land and disassemble in this client. It's a bit more descriptive than colonize, and I like it better. So land and disassemble. And let's do that just so you can see what that mission does anyhow. So this will destroy your ship and use its parts for it'll break its parts down into like the minerals and supplies that you use to create it with. So actually, I don't think it'll create supplies, it'll just create the minerals. Okay, next ship. Still in deep space, still going there. Here we go. Here's a new ship we built. Let's name it. Give it a explore mission. Actually, let's give it a cloaking mission. We'll send it north. Load it up with fuel. Give it some. Load it up with colonists. We're not even going to bring supplies with us here or money. We're just purely going to use this as a seeder ship, meaning dropping off 1 colonist all over the place and figuring out where the good planets are to follow up with supply ships. So let's head up here with this guy. Control W, warp 9, 2 turns. It's going to cost me a bit of extra to cloak and move, but still very little amount of fuel. Our battleship is about to hit Time Planet. I'm still cloaking, so now I need to switch my mission to kill or change my primary enemy, set mission to like Minesweep or something else, and change my primary enemy to the privateers or whoever I want to kill. but for this, I'm just going to change it to kill. And this other guy is where we started. So we went through our ships now. Let's do our global building, no exclusions, build, auto build, taxes, optimize for natives. And now let's build another ship. So hopefully, do we have enough for a large deep space raider yet? Probably not, but let's have a look. Build a new ship. No, still not quite enough. Look at that. So as you can see, shortage of minerals really puts the damper into your expansion phase, and you have to really plan accordingly. In this demo, I obviously rushed through things, and things could have been done quite a bit better for this example, but unfortunately, we're stuck with that. So I'm not even going to build a ship this turn. I'm going to just save my resources for a better ship for next turn and start collecting resources with the ships that I do have. So my large deep space freighter, which is right here, will eventually colonize these planets, and I'll bring back with me minerals to my homeworld on my way back. But finally, let's just run this last turn just to see if this ship ends up attacking the guy here, or if he heads off of this planet on the same turn I arrive. So let's have a quick look and see what happens. And then this will be the final turn. I hope I showed you the basics of this tool. There's a lot more that you'll have to learn and read up on. Feel free to post messages, questions, comments to this YouTube video, and I am more than happy to help answer what I can. So let's have a quick look here to see what happened this turn. So first of all, you'll notice that our notification popped up here. This was the auto task that I'd set up, and it says that it's time to unload and head out, because that's what I said to message me at this point. So I'm at the screen where I have to confirm this message before anything will happen or continue to happen. The red box around here indicates that you had to confirm a message. Now that I've confirmed it, that message goes away and the auto task is completely cleared. So the message said to unload and head out. So let's unload 100 supplies here, 200 colonists, and continue on. And we'll do our beam up fuel mission as we're leaving the planet. But look at this, one combat recording. Let's check it out. So it was our Resolute against their planet. So it looks like his ship is no longer there. We're attacking his planet, and because he just got finished colonizing it, it will have very weak defenses on it, and we will take this over quite easily. Checking out the star chart, I'm assuming we're going to see his ship leaving this planet, and there it is there. And if you hit F6 on a ship, you can go through the history of it. So not much history we can see for this ship, especially since it's our enemy ship. But if we were to do that on one of our ships, so this one for example, hitting F6, you can arrow through them to see where you were previous turn. So if you're kind of just wanting to review where the ship came from, what it has been doing, that's a good way to do it. So for our final turn here, let's not spend time doing anything other than attacking this ship here. So let's change to our Resolute. Oops. If I can figure out where I was here. So sorry, my mistake. Seeker was not the ship that we were looking at. It was actually, it must have been this one here. This is the ship that came from Time Planet, and it looks like he might be heading to our planet, as well as this other ship that's heading there. So let's put the hunt on. So we're going to change our mission to intercept a ship. We're going to intercept this guy, obviously. We've got our warp factor. Let's change it to 9, maximum warp. So hopefully we will intercept him. Now, because we can't have a kill mission and intercept mission on the same, can't have two missions basically, we have to set our primary enemy to the privateers in order to attack that ship. So let's do that. Our private enemy is the privateers. And as long as our friendly code doesn't match their friendly code, and as long as we catch them this turn, we will attack them. So let's see if that happens. Okay, so turn is completed. Let's switch to our game directory. One combat recording, that's a good sign. My dog is excited about this battle. So let's see what happens. Very tiny ship, easy little blaster. We're going to take care of the ship with no issues at all. And there you have it. All right, well, thanks for watching my demonstration of Planets Command Center 2. Hopefully everyone who watches this video will give it a try and try a game of VGA Planets on Planet Central. That's the easiest place to play your game. They do have a a web client available if for whatever reason you don't want to install PCC locally, and their web version does a good job of handling most of the same tasks you can do, but not all. So that's why I really strongly recommend you use this tool for your Planets game, and I hope to see you in the battlefield. There's always BBSs to play on if you prefer that method. So enjoy your gaming, questions post away, and thanks for watching.